Welcome everybody, my name is Marcus. Today we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. It took about 4 years to make this happen. So huge shout out to the fans, huge shout out to Zack Snyder. I'm thankful the studio gave him a chance to really redo this. I'm really glad HBO Max released it. This was something that's never happened before. Really the fans willing a movie into existence, especially after the movie had already been made. Usually we don't get a second chance with the movie. So I was really thankful and really glad that they made this happen. And I'll start off by saying that this movie was so much better than the original. Let's be honest, the Justice League movie that came out about 4 years ago was absolute trash. And I can't blame any one particular person. It's very unfortunate, the circumstances of what happened and why Zack Snyder had to leave the original movie. And anytime you have a director try to fill in for another director, their visions clash. I don't know what the influence of the studio was, but it just wasn't gonna work out. It was destined to fail. I don't know about you guys, but I was super excited about this. Hearing that they were gonna release a new edition and then hearing that it was gonna be 4 hours, I had so many questions. What are they gonna do in these 4 hours? How much extra footage did they have? What is it gonna be like? Was it gonna be polished? Was it gonna look good? How was the CG gonna look? Although WandaVision kinda told how they could develop a story and basically make it a long cinematic experience, I was still very confused because the original movie was about 2 hours. Granted, they did cut out a lot. But what was really cool with what Zack Snyder did is he kind of made it into different chapters and it flowed a lot more naturally. However, it really didn't seem like a 4-hour movie. The pacing of it was very well thought out. It didn't drag along. I felt like it naturally progressed and you were interested throughout the whole thing. It wasn't too slow at any point. I was truly amazed at how different this movie felt, even from the opening scenes and even some of the scenes that were in the original movie. Just the slight adjustments, the changes of pace, the changes of speed within the scene, the change of music, everything, the entire vibe was different, and it was amazing just how much of a difference you'll have one director and a different director. Just side by side, it's truly incredible to see how different Zack Snyder's vision was for this movie. And admittedly, he probably didn't get to truly develop the vision just because he had to come back after the fact. But the start of the movie is amazing. It starts out so much better. What comes to mind immediately is the scene where Wonder Woman saves the people in the museum. It truly captures just the power of Diana, and it shows how incredible she is. I feel like that action sequence was already better than any action sequence in Wonder Woman 84, which was such a disappointment. One of the biggest things that Zack Snyder was able to do with this movie was really answer a lot of questions. If you're a big DC fan, you may have been able to fill in some of the gaps from the original movie, but he put a lot of backstory into the mother boxes. He explained the motivations with Steppenwolf, introduced Darkseid that was not really in the original at all. Everyone kind of knew what was happening, but it made a lot more sense. You understood the history of the mother boxes. Originally, I think the fight scene with the old gods and the resistance of, at the time, Steppenwolf was only a couple minutes, whereas this had a backstory, it explained everything, and then they actually had Darkseid, which made a lot more sense. That he was looking for the anti-life equation, and it took everyone really to fight back. It really kind of reminded Lord of the Rings in that initial battle with Sauron, and it reminded of everyone uniting together. I like the parallels of that story. Another thing that Zack Snyder was really able to elaborate on was the backstories of the Flash and Cyborg, because we had already kind of learned about Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and Aquaman did get his own movie, whereas Cyborg was really pushed off to the side, which after watching the Snyder Cut you realize Cyborg was one of the main characters of this movie and the heart and soul of the movie. You actually really learn about Victor Stone's history. It was actually really sad hearing about his mother and then understanding that relationship with him and his father, the tension with all of that. And you understand essentially why he's so upset being Cyborg, whereas in the original, he just seemed like a moody person, and he was, woe is me, I'm a robot now. But you didn't have any depth with it. You didn't really understand who he was before he became a cyborg. You also didn't really understand his powers or anything. It was just kind of thrown in there, and I was really glad that he kind of got his time to shine, and he really got his time in the spotlight I actually like that scene, you know, where he helps that mother that's struggling, and it shows it really shows how powerful he could be. And if you've seen any of the other cartoon Justice League, Cyborg is a pivotal character in the Justice League. So I'm really glad that they're able to add that backstory. And then also, of course, the Flash, as you may know, is my favorite character. I'm still not happy with the cinematic Flash. You know, Ezra Miller does a good job, but to be honest, the cartoon movies, the cartoon show, and the comic books do a much better job of portraying the Flash that I enjoy. But this is what we have right now. Zack Snyder really added more depth to Barry and his story, his relationship with his father that's been basically framed for the death of his mother. And, you know, they really showcased his abilities a little bit more, other than him just kind of running around, being fast, and essentially just being the comic relief. I'm glad they spent a lot more time showcasing his ability. They even explained the Speed Force a little bit more. He was much more pivotal in the final battle. And I really love that scene with Iris, and I can't believe that they cut it out of the original movie. It may have been a little bit abrupt since they really didn't talk much about the Flash at all, but I thought that scene was truly incredible, and obviously a lot of work went into it, so it was really a big waste that they didn't have it in the original movie, but I was glad that they got to see it. They casted Iris and didn't even use her throughout the entire movie for the original one. Can't imagine what it would be like to act out some scenes and then just be completely cut from the movie. I was truly amazed at how much thought Zack Snyder had put into this world. He had involved so many other characters like Valko and Mira for Aquaman. He had the Martian Manhunter in this. There was just so many scenes that were cut out of the original where the characters started to get to know each other, started to develop a bond to be a team. It wasn't just that, oh, there's aliens invading, we have to bond together. No, they started to work together. They started to build relationships, you know. The small scenes, Zack Snyder really took his time in developing these character interactions. In the original movie, you had Bruce meeting Arthur, and I think that scene probably took a couple minutes, whereas this one, Zack Snyder took his time. It actually took a while. He started to get to know them. There was a more serious conversation. Looking back at the original movie, it just goes to show how rushed it was. Literally, scenes went by quicker than the Snyder cut. Zack Snyder really took his time, and I really appreciated it with this. And it wasn't that it felt too slow or anything. In a way, he just let it savor. You got to enjoy it more, and everything made a lot more sense. This is really similar to the experience with Batman vs. Superman. When it came out in theaters, you know, there were certain things that I liked, but it was very convoluted and it didn't make a lot of sense. Whereas the Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition was by far a superior movie. It made so much more sense. I feel like Zack Snyder really needs time to tell his story, to really explain things and let it develop. So if he's ever rushed or if he's given like a time crunch, I feel like his movies just don't work out too well. He loves slow motion scenes. He loves slow motion developing scenes in that sense as well. He doesn't rush into anything. And so looking at the original movie, it really did feel super rushed. I felt like Zack Snyder also redeemed Batman and Bruce Wayne. It was a really weird experience watching him in the original movie. He was just really cast aside. He didn't really seem that useful. It was just not very Batman-like at all. While Batman was still way out of his league, maybe with everything, he was able to still come up with strategy. He still had a lot of influence with the team, and he was more pivotal bringing the team and keeping the team together. I also kind of liked with the gauntlet and everything, it kind of explained more of how he was combating these crazy aliens that he's never fought before. It made a lot more sense. Now, my favorite scene of the original movie was when Superman first comes back. Out of the whole movie, that was the best scene. I was super excited to see what Zack Snyder's version of that was, and I wasn't disappointed at all. He made a good scene so much better. It truly made the return of Superman quite scary. You know, you truly see a dark side of Superman where he could truly dominate the world, you know? He went through the Justice League. There was a true intimidation, and he held nothing back. It was such a good scene. I really liked the changes with it, the change in music. I really loved what Zack Snyder did with that scene. He did an amazing job extending it, truly showing the power of Superman and not making it cheap with any of the cheesy lines or anything like that between Batman and Superman. And then it made more sense with Lois coming in. It's really interesting that in the original, it was Batman's strategy, whereas in this, it was just more Lois being there, and they kind of built that up that she visited all the time and then she happened to be there. So it was an interesting change in plot, but I liked it. It worked. And it made more sense rather than Batman kind of manipulating the situation and calling Lois the big gun. So I liked that change a lot. And it was an incredible scene that got better. Some of the other things that I really thought Zack Snyder improved a lot was the character design. Steppenwolf was much more intimidating. You know, he truly seemed like a scary threat to the entire world. And then you have Darkseid, which was not mentioned before. And having him in this, seeing what he did in the past fighting the original resistance for Earth was truly incredible. And I was really glad that Zack Snyder used Darkseid because he's such a pivotal character. It would be like leaving out Thanos with the Avengers. Thanos and Darkseid are parallels. Everyone knows that. So it was nice to see him on the big screen, and the character design, fixing Steppenwolf, making him truly intimidating was great. Another character design change that I was all for was the black suit Superman. We've seen it in the comics, we've seen it in the stories before, and it doesn't make sense why they didn't use it in the original movie. So I was really glad that they actually went with that and brought it back because he looked incredible in it, and it was really cool to see. His sequence where he's Clark Kent and revealing the S, it's the black and silver S now. All right. I was a little disappointed with the nightmare sequence. There was so much hype about it. I expected a lot from it. There was a lot of talks about Jared Leto's Joker, and then they waited to the very last minute to reveal that scene. It seemed a little odd. I feel like they probably could have fit that earlier into the movie and it would have made a little bit more sense. We can kind of figure out that the Flash in this future was the one that visited Bruce Wayne in the past. This has really been a nightmare that's been haunting Bruce Wayne ever since he had that vision, ever since that he was visited by the Flash from the future. And they're really talking about the impact of the death of Lois Lane and how it could destroy Superman. I don't know if you guys know anything about the Injustice games and the Injustice comics and that storyline, but essentially Lois Lane dies and Superman goes off the rails and truly becomes what everyone fears as a very dangerous, scary Superman. So that's kind of what this nightmare sequence alluded to. It was kind of interesting to see Deathstroke with Batman and then obviously the Joker. I was a little disappointed. I thought there was going to be more with Jared Leto. There was a lot of hype about it. They're hyping up the Jared Leto's Joker. It was definitely better than the Suicide Squad Joker, but you know, we got a couple minutes of him. So I expected more out of it, and I thought it was oddly placed in the timeline of the movie. I'm really excited to see where they go with this. I'm hoping the Snyderverse, I'm hoping these characters continue. I personally would love to see another Superman movie with Henry Cavill. I think he's a perfect Superman. And I would like to see what Justice League 2 would look like. You know, they haven't really faced Darkseid. It would be like the end of Avengers when Thanos just kind of talks in the background and then we never got to see him. I would be so disappointed. So I hope they give this a chance. This whole movement of release the Snyder Cut has really shown how much fans want this. And if done right, it's gonna make so many people happy. And I think there's so many opportunities with this for them to do it correctly. All right, so that wraps up this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the movie. Please comment below. If you did enjoy watching this, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. That really helps me out. I really wanna try to get 100 subscribers. That's my goal. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.